Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, as we dive into one of the most astonishing and mind-bending stories in modern coin collecting, a tale that takes an ordinary pocket change coin and transforms it into a jaw-dropping treasure worth an unbelievable $81 million, and today's entire journey centers on the mysterious and massively valuable 1990p Roosevelt dime, a coin most people never glance at twice, but one that, under the right circumstances, carries errors, mistakes, and production. Anomalies so dramatic and so rare that collectors would battle fiercely just to get a glimpse of one. Because when a coin like this combines historical intrigue with minting accidents and extreme scarcity, it becomes more than just a small piece of metal, it becomes an artifact of pure fascination. And in this long and deeply detailed exploration, we will look at why this dime, yes, a simple 10-cent coin from 1990, has been rumored, theorized, and imagined to have sold for an astonishing $81 million, a number that shocks even seasoned numismatists, yet makes perfect sense when you explore the layers of errors and unusual circumstances that might turn an everyday Philadelphia minted coin into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. The 1990p dime begins its journey like any other coin pressed into existence at the Philadelphia Mint, but collectors love to remind us that the tiniest oversight during production, whether it is a misalignment, a wrong metal composition, an improperly prepared die, a doubled design, a missing detail, or even a planchet mix-up, can escalate the value of a coin beyond imagination. And for this particular year, certain rare anomalies have become the stuff of legend because a mistake at the mint is like a fingerprint of history, something that cannot be replicated once corrected, and that unrepeatable nature is part of what transforms an object of spare change into high-stakes treasure. When discussing the 1990p dime, many collectors immediately point to possibilities involving off-metal strikes, because whenever a coin is struck on a metal blank intended for a completely different denomination, the rarity skyrockets, and although no widely documented examples exist of a 1990p dime struck on the wrong planchet, numismatic theory and minting history suggest it could happen. And if even one dime from this year were accidentally struck on a copper-nickel-clad quarter planchet, a pure copper cent planchet, or the rarest possibility, a 90% silver planchet that somehow remained in a hopper long after silver production ended, it could immediately qualify as one of the rarest error coins ever created. But rarity alone does not create an $81 million price tag. What truly makes collectors tremble is when a coin combines multiple errors at once, a sort of numismatic, perfect storm. And speculative lore around the 1990p dime includes combinations such as an off-metal strike paired with a double die obverse where Roosevelt's profile, lettering, or the motto "In God We Trust" appears doubled with crisp separation lines that clearly show misalignment during the die hub process, because double die errors are some of the most desired in the entire hobby due to how strikingly visible they are and how dramatically they stand out from a normal coin. Imagine a 1990p dime that not only displays these doubled features but perhaps also suffered a dramatic die crack that splits through Roosevelt's forehead or neck like a lightning bolt frozen in metal, a flaw that would demonstrate the intense pressure and stress the die endured before failing, marking the coin as a literal fragment of minting history. And then there are possibilities involving missing elements, because missing mint marks, missing clad layers, and missing design details have all been documented in U.S. coinage across various years. And while the 1990p dime normally bears the P mint mark from Philadelphia, theoretically a die without the mint mark or a filled die condition could produce a coin free of that characteristic, and if combined with other errors, it would amplify the rarity exponentially. A dime missing its clad layer on one or both sides would expose a copper core, giving the coin a dramatic reddish color that instantly catches the eye. Imagine such a dime with its outer layer peeled away, revealing its imperfections while also capturing the moment the lamination failed. And then imagine that same coin possessing a broad strike error where the collar failed to contain the metal during striking, causing the coin to spread wider than usual, with distorted rims and expanded fields that show it escaped the mint's normal mechanical controls. Now picture all these errors layered together, and you begin to understand how a small coin might be elevated into a multimillion-dollar masterpiece. Another enormous contributing factor is provenance, because collectors love the stories behind rare coins. When a coin's discovery comes with drama, secrecy, or an unexpected twist, buyers respond with enthusiasm, and speculative stories of the 1990p dime often involve the idea of an employee's oversight or machine calibration failure that slipped past inspectors, resulting in a handful of flawed coins entering circulation before anyone realized what had happened. and if only one or two of those survived, their rarity would be beyond extreme. Some coin legends even suggest that the coin could have been part of a test strike batch, created when new dies or planchets were being tested, because test strikes are not meant for circulation, and if one escaped the mint by accident, its value would be immeasurable due to its unique status. Another possibility that collectors like to discuss is the existence of pattern coins, experimental designs or compositions evaluated during internal mint research, and although there is no confirmed pattern dime for 1990, the mere possibility, even unproven, fuels the imagination because the mint sometimes creates items not intended for the public, and if one surfaced unexpectedly, that shock could propel its value into the tens of millions. Error specialists often analyze how the 1990 p-dime's normal production numbers factor into rarity as well, because the Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of dimes that year, making it nearly impossible to sort through and find anomalies. So if a single extraordinary error coin survived circulation, its uniqueness would be magnified by the overwhelming normality of the rest of the year's coins, essentially making it a lone star in a vast galaxy. As collectors imagine the perfect error coin, they envision perhaps a 1990 p-dime with a rotated die strike, where the obverse and reverse are misaligned by 90 or even 180 degrees, a rare condition that immediately commands massive attention. Or maybe a coin with a dramatic mis-centered strike, where part of the design hangs off the edge while a blank crescent fills the remainder, making the coin appear almost like a puzzle piece that was never completed. And then there is the possibility of a brockage error, where one coin impresses its reversed image onto another during minting, creating a mirror-like ghost of the design on one side. A brockage dime from 1990 with additional errors would be a once-in-a-generation discovery. Collectors also fantasize about the possibility of an entirely unique composition error, such as a dime struck on an experimental alloy, perhaps a planchet used for research in durability or metal cost, because the mint is known to conduct such tests, and if even one of those blanks were mistakenly fed into production, the resulting coin would be unlike anything else ever seen. When discussing such extraordinary values, collectors also consider historical timing, because the early 1990s mark a transitional period for minting technology as systems shifted toward more modern, automated processes, and in any transitional phase, unusual mechanical failures or human overlooked details are more likely to occur, further supporting theories about strange anomalies from this period. All these possibilities, some proven in other years, some theoretical but plausible, come together to create a mythical aura around the rarest imagined version of the 1990 p-dime. And when you combine rarity, condition, error severity, collector competition, and the storytelling power behind such a coin, you can imagine bidding wars driving the price higher and higher until an unimaginable number like $81 million becomes possible in the world of high-stakes collectors, investors, and wealthy buyers who pay not only for the coin but for the status of owning what no one else on Earth possesses. The emotional power behind such coins also inflates value, because for many enthusiasts these rare pieces represent history, mystery, and discovery, and the thrill of chasing the unknown is part of what makes numismatics so exciting. So when people talk about the 1990 p-dime and its potential 8-figure value, they are not simply talking about metal and engraving. They are talking about the fascination of human error, the excitement of chance, and the beauty of imperfection turned into treasure. And with that understanding, we can appreciate how a coin worth 10 cents could capture the imagination of millions, spark endless debate, and theoretically command a price tag most people would never believe. Next, 1995, P1 Dime USA coin. We dive into another unbelievable discovery in the world of rare coins, where tiny pieces of metal can transform into treasures worth life-changing amounts of money. And today's focus takes us straight into the fascinating story of the 1995 P1 dime that collectors claim could command a staggering value of $82 million because of its extraordinary errors, shocking minting mistakes, and the almost surreal circumstances that would need to align for such a coin to reach that unimaginable level of desirability. And as we explore the possibilities, explanations, and hidden details behind this incredible valuation, we will unravel how a simple 10-cent piece could be elevated by rarity, accident, and collector obsession into something that defies logic, challenges expectations, and captivates anyone who loves numismatics or simply enjoys hearing about unbelievable treasures that might be hiding in pocket change. Because when it comes to rare coins, the more dramatic the minting issue, the more intense the collector demand, and the 1995 p-dime, under the right circumstances, could represent a perfect storm of historical intrigue, mechanical imperfection, and speculative fascination that turns a small everyday coin into a legendary artifact worth the GDP of a small town. So imagine starting with the Philadelphia Mint in 1995, a year when billions of standard dimes were produced with ordinary precision, yet within that massive production environment, even the slightest die misalignment, metal contamination, planchet flaw, striking anomaly, or unexpected minting malfunction could create a coin so unique that professional graders, auction houses, and private collectors would battle fiercely over the chance to claim it. And in the realm of high-stakes numismatics, the combination of extreme rarity and dramatic visual oddities often pushes prices to astronomical heights, especially when an error is so unusual that only a single known specimen exists, because collectors love the concept of a one-of-one coin that becomes a legendary centerpiece of a collection. So imagine discovering a 1995 p-dime struck on the wrong planchet. Perhaps a foreign coin blank, or maybe even a leftover from another denomination's production cycle, which would instantly elevate the piece into the category of multimillion-dollar rarities, since wrong planchet strikes are always highly sought after, and when a coin intended to be a dime is accidentally struck on a copper cent planchet, a thick nickel planchet, or even a golden-toned planchet used for commemorative issues, the contrast between what the coin should be and what it accidentally became becomes irresistible for collectors, and the hypothetical $82 million price tag could be fueled by an extreme version of this error, such as a 1995 p-dime struck on a massively oversized blank or a foreign planchet never recorded in mint documents, producing a mysterious anomaly with no official explanation, which always heightens demand because collectors love objects that defy documentation and challenge mint historians. And beyond wrong planchet errors, die errors open up another universe of possibilities, since a dramatic double die obverse or reverse could catapult the coin into numismatic fame, especially if the doubling is so severe that inscriptions like "Liberty," "In God We Trust," or the date 1995 appear doubled to the point of being visually stunning and dramatic. Doubling can push coins into million-dollar ranges on its own, so a version of the 1995 p-dime with excessively bold, unmistakable doubling combined with another error could create the kind of anomaly that fuels bidding wars, because when multiple errors stack together, such as a double die obverse paired with a misaligned die strike, partial collar strike, and off-center design, the result becomes a coin that shouldn't exist, yet somehow slipped through machinery checks, quality control, standards and circulation hurdles, and stories like that add narrative weight to a coin's mystique, which directly influences collector desire and therefore price. And the notion that an $82 million 1995 p-dime could exist comes from imagining a perfect combination of improbable factors: a rare planchet, an extreme double die, a dramatic off-center strike, a retained cut on the rim, and even a possible die cap effect where the coin remained stuck to the die for multiple strikes, stretching the design, distorting the portrait, and creating a ghost-like set of layered impressions that would be visually unlike anything else known from modern American minting. And when you consider that some coins gain value because they blur the line between mint error and art piece, the concept becomes even more compelling, since collectors have paid unbelievable sums for coins that show accidental but artistically striking distortions that seem intentional even though they are purely mechanical accidents. And if a 1995 p-dime were found with a full blockage error, where one side is perfectly mirrored because it was struck against another coin rather than directly against a die, that alone could make it worth hundreds of thousands or even millions, but when combined with additional extreme mistakes, the value spirals upward, and we must consider the role of condition, because if such a theoretically perfect error coin survived in mint-state condition, untouched by circulation, with flawless luster and no signs of wear, the rarity combined with pristine preservation would amplify the value dramatically, and collectors always pay exponentially more for errors in high grade, especially when the error is one of a kind, and rarity is not only about the number of coins produced but also about survival rate, meaning that an error dime that somehow escaped detection, skipped the bagging and inspection processes, avoided the melting bin, entered circulation unnoticed, and was later discovered in astonishing condition would carry a backstory worthy of a documentary, and collectors adore items whose stories reflect sheer improbability. And the speculative nature of coin values must also be acknowledged, because sometimes hype, myth, and collector excitement play just as big a role as physical rarity, especially when rumors circulate that a coin is the only known specimen of a particular error. And in such scenarios, private buyers with deep pockets can drive the price to surreal levels simply because owning such a coin becomes a status symbol, a trophy piece, or even an investment comparable to high-end art. And in the world of rare coins, the concept of price realized at auction can become a phenomenon of its own, where bidding wars escalate far beyond estimated values, pushing a coin into legendary status, and a hypothetical 1995 p-dime with legendary errors could become the focus of such competitive energy. And even though no public sale has ever reached 82 million for a dime, the theoretical scenario imagines a collector community so obsessed with the coin's combination of errors that a billionaire investor, museum, or private collection curator might pay almost any price to secure it. And such extreme valuations are not unheard of in other collectible fields, because paintings, stamps, vintage cars, and rare artifacts have all crossed the $100 million mark when the right combination of rarity, demand, prestige, and emotional excitement aligns. So imagining a dime reaching that height is simply projecting those same principles into numismatics, and the 1995 p-dime becomes a symbol of how minor objects can achieve mythic worth. And when diving deeper into the hypothetical features that could push such a coin to eight-figure value, we can envision a scenario in which the coin was not only struck on the wrong planchet but also struck with a mishubbed die, meaning the die itself was created incorrectly during the hubbing process, leading to misaligned design elements, misplaced letters, or even a partially missing portrait. And coins with hub-level errors are incredibly rare because those mistakes usually ruin entire batches of dies and are caught early. So if even one escaped and produced a few coins before being replaced, those pieces would be priceless, especially if the error is visually dramatic, such as Roosevelt's portrait being shifted, distorted, or partially missing, and the date or mint mark floating in an unusual location due to design misplacement. And the idea of combining this with a wrong planchet strike introduces a multiplicative effect on rarity, not merely additive, because rarity squared becomes exponentially more valuable to collectors, and die cracks, die breaks, and retained cuds add another layer of intrigue, because a large cud on the rim or near the portrait creates a dramatic raised blob of metal that signals the die was failing catastrophically. And coins struck during die failure are often extremely rare because the mint usually halts production quickly to replace the damaged die. So a 1995 p-dime exhibiting a massive retained cud combined with doubling or off-center alignment would become instantly legendary. And if the cud happened to distort part of the date or part of the inscriptions, collectors would view the coin as a one-of-a-kind masterpiece of mint malfunction. And the deeper we explore these error combinations, the more compelling the coin. Next, 2001 P1 dime USA coin. Today, as we dive into one of the most astonishing stories in the world of rare coins, a tale that continues to spark curiosity, excitement, and imagination among collectors, enthusiasts, and newcomers alike, as we explore how a seemingly ordinary 2001 p-dime, yes, a simple 10-cent piece minted in Philadelphia, could reach a jaw-dropping value of $83 million because of a combination of extraordinary errors, striking mistakes, and the incredible possibilities behind its creation, rarity, and mysterious circumstances that have convinced some collectors that this coin represents one of the most spectacular numismatic anomalies ever discussed, turning a pocket change item into a legendary treasure that exemplifies how unpredictable and fascinating the world of minting mistakes can be. And as we move through this entire story in one continuous flow, we will uncover how such a coin could theoretically exist, what kinds of minting phenomena would be required to justify such a massive value, why collectors are sometimes willing to speculate so boldly, and how each layer of unusual detail can transform a regular dime into an object that captivates imaginations, fuels competitive bidding, and inspires ongoing conversations among experts who remain endlessly intrigued by the possibilities of minting misstrikes that defy expectations. To begin with, the idea of a 2001 p-dime valued at $83 million rests entirely on the belief that this coin could possess a combination of errors so extreme, so impossible under normal conditions, and so visually dramatic that the mere existence of such a coin would challenge everything we understand about the United States Mint's quality control systems, because for a coin to reach a valuation of that magnitude, it cannot simply feature a common strike error or minor flaw. Instead, it must represent a convergence of multiple errors occurring simultaneously during the die preparation, planchet creation, and striking phases, producing a piece so unique that collectors would describe it as a once-in-history minting accident. Among the possibilities considered are double denomination errors, where a dime is accidentally struck on a planchet intended for another coin such as a quarter or dollar blank, creating a size or metal composition mismatch that instantly sets the coin apart. Off-center strikes exceeding 75%, which are extremely rare because coins with such severe misalignment are usually rejected before leaving the mint. Multiple strikes where the coin receives 2 or more impressions, leaving overlapping images that create a surreal layered effect, and wrong planchet scenarios in which the dime design is accidentally stamped on a foreign coin blank intended for another country or on a transitional metal planchet from a prior or future minting year. An error that has historically produced some of the most valuable coins known to collectors. Furthermore, some speculate that a coin commanding $83 million would require not just one of these errors but several appearing simultaneously, such as a rotated die combined with a double strike on a foreign planchet with an off-center alignment, essentially forming a perfect storm of minting impossibilities that would push the coin from merely rare to unprecedented, the kind of error that would have to slip through multiple layers of oversight, leaving experts to debate whether its existence resulted from pure chance, a unique mechanical failure, a freak alignment of machinery, or perhaps even deliberate experimentation by someone working inside the mint, although the latter is always treated with caution because the mint maintains strict control procedures to discourage tampering or unauthorized test strikes. Additionally, discussions about this potentially $83 million 2001 P dime often include speculation about dramatic die breaks or cuts, where portions of the die collapse or crack, leaving large raised areas on the coin's surface that distort the design in unpredictable ways. These massive die breaks are visually impressive and highly collectible because they create a distinctive appearance that cannot be replicated. And when combined with other major errors, they can dramatically increase a coin's desirability. Another possibility often mentioned is the presence of a rare transitional composition. For example, if the dime had been struck accidentally on a precious metal planchet such as gold or silver rather than the standard copper-nickel clad, the material itself would already give the coin substantial intrinsic value, but when combined with dramatic minting mistakes, it could propel its market value into astronomical territory. Coin experts also discuss the effect of dramatic misaligned dies or broad strikes, where the collar that normally controls the coin's shape fails to engage properly, causing the dime to expand outward like a flared disc, sometimes taking on an irregular form that is visually stunning and instantly recognizable as an error. In some extremely rare theoretical scenarios, a coin might exhibit mismatched obverse and reverse dies, meaning the front and back belong to two entirely different coin types or years. These mule errors have historically produced some of the most expensive coins ever sold, and if a 2001 P dime were discovered with a mismatched Roosevelt obverse and a reverse from an entirely unrelated coin, especially one from a different denomination, it could revolutionize the numismatic world. Beyond the physical errors themselves, collectors often consider provenance and mystique, meaning that a coin's backstory, its journey, its discovery, and the questions surrounding its origin, can add millions to its perceived value, especially when the coin enters a competitive market of high-end collectors who are motivated not only by rarity but by the opportunity to own something that no one else on the planet possesses, something the mint could never reproduce intentionally, something that challenges traditional expectations about what is possible in the minting process. This is why stories of the hypothetical $83 million dime continue to fascinate people. The notion that a single coin from 2001, a year in which billions of dimes were minted without incident, could hide a miraculous outlier with multiple extreme errors creates an aura of mystery and excitement that draws in casual viewers and seasoned collectors alike, fueling discussions about how many such pieces could still be undiscovered in circulation, in old jars, in inherited collections, or forgotten drawers, waiting to be recognized by someone curious enough to look closely. Moreover, numismatists emphasize that even though such a coin has not been confirmed publicly, the mere possibility encourages people to examine their coins more carefully, reminding them that history has repeatedly proven that extraordinary minting mistakes can and do occur, often by accident and sometimes without anyone noticing until decades later, which means the discovery of a multi-error 2001 P dime remains within the realm of imagination for many enthusiasts who love the thrill of the hunt. Add to this the market psychology behind ultra-rare coins, where competition among wealthy collectors can drive values to extraordinary levels. When two or more buyers decide they must own a particular coin, price limits become irrelevant, and auctions can escalate to sums that seem unbelievable to the general public, especially when the coin in question is considered unique, historically significant, visually striking, and deeply connected to a story that resonates across the numismatic community. Thus, when people talk about a 2001 p dime valued at $83 million, they are not simply describing a coin. They are invoking an entire universe of minting possibilities, unusual mechanical failures, layered combinations of errors, speculative intrigue, and collector enthusiasm that blend together into a legend, one that inspires curiosity, encourages people to search their pocket change, and reinforces the magical notion that extraordinary discoveries can be found in the most ordinary places if one knows what to look for, because the world of coins is filled with surprises, accidents, mysteries, and rare treasures that ignite imaginations and remind us that even the simplest object can hold astonishing value when circumstances align in ways that defy expectation, challenge probability, and create stories that collectors will continue discussing, debating, and exploring for years to come. Last 2005 P1 dime USA coin. Today, as we dive into one of the most astonishing, head-turning, and curiosity-sparking stories in the world of modern coin collecting, a tale that grips enthusiasts, casual hobbyists, and treasure hunters alike. Because today we are exploring the unbelievable claim and electrifying possibilities surrounding a single 2005 p dime said to be worth an eye-popping $84 million, a number so massive that it instantly captures attention and raises questions about how a coin so small, so ordinary at first glance, and so commonly minted could ever reach such an unimaginable value. Yet when you begin peeling back the layers of errors, anomalies, minting quirks, and theoretical scenarios that collectors love to debate, you discover a world where the line between the ordinary and the extraordinary becomes blurred, especially when hype, rarity, controversy, and myth-making all collide in one tiny piece of metal that could, under just the right combination of bizarre errors and freak mistakes, command a value that breaks every expectation and turns a common 10-cent coin into a legendary treasure that people whisper about, analyze, dissect, debate, and dream of finding in their change jars or old drawers tucked away for years, because the 2005 p dime, minted at the Philadelphia Mint during a year of otherwise routine production, becomes a fascinating case study in how the coin world attaches enormous valuations to pieces that exhibit extreme, one-of-a-kind mint errors, unimaginable misstrikes, or combinations of manufacturing failures that are so rare they might only occur once in a generation. And in imagining our theoretical $84 million example, we must dive into every layer of possibility to understand just how extraordinary its errors must be, starting with the idea that this coin could display a dramatic double-die obverse where the portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt shows heavy, unmistakable doubling visible in the profile, the eye, the mouth, and the inscriptions, doubling so crisp and bold that it cannot be dismissed as machine doubling but instead appears as the clearest and most extreme misalignment between hub and die, a level of doubling that collectors describe as monumental, the type that would instantly elevate a coin into the highest stratosphere of rarity. But the value grows even more when we combine this dramatic doubling with another insanely rare occurrence, a triple planchet error in which the dime was somehow struck on a planchet that was either clipped, mismatched, or made of an incorrect metal alloy entirely, perhaps even accidentally produced using a leftover experimental alloy from test runs never meant for circulation, a possibility that has been whispered in coin collecting communities for years, since the U.S. Mint occasionally produces metallurgical experiments and transitional pieces that, when accidentally released into circulation, become the holy grails of collecting, and this hypothetical 2005 p dime worth $84 million could, in our exploration today, combine an impossible alignment of these features, such as a broad strike that left the rim massively expanded, obliterating the standard border and stretching the metal in such a way that certain design details warped into surreal shapes, forming a coin no machine or human could intentionally replicate, and the presence of a mule error, one of the rarest categories of mint mistakes in existence, would take the rarity to unimaginable heights, since a mule error refers to a coin struck with mismatched designs on each side, usually from two different denominations or die sets, something so rare that the few known mule coins in American history sell for staggering amounts, and imagining a 2005 p dime struck with a Roosevelt obverse paired with, for example, the reverse intended for a different coin entirely, such as a design from a state quarter or a spare die from a previous year's experimental set, transforms this dime from merely interesting to astronomically valuable, because a mule error combined with a double die and incorrect planchet strike makes for a piece so unique that it would have no equal anywhere in the numismatic world. And to add even more intrigue, we can imagine this coin exhibiting rotation errors where the reverse appears rotated by a dramatic angle, perhaps more than 180 degrees, a type of striking anomaly so unusual that collectors classify extreme rotations as among the most desirable features in the error coin market. But the story does not end here, because in order to reach a valuation as fantastical as $84 million, our dime must continue layering impossibility upon impossibility, which leads us to the idea that it could have been struck multiple times under abnormal pressure, leaving ghost-like impressions from previous strikes that overlap, creating an almost three-dimensional texture on the fields of the coin, a type of multi-strike error that has been documented occasionally but never to an extent where it created a coin of this magnitude. And when you imagine these overlapping impressions interacting with the doubling and incorrect metal, it creates a piece so visually striking, so shockingly different from the standard dime, that experts would likely declare it one of the most interesting mint errors ever discovered. And in our exploration of the mythos of such a coin, we consider how collectors react when something this dramatic surfaces, because the coin market thrives not just on rarity but on narrative, on the spectacle of discovery, on the idea that a coin escaped the mint under mysterious circumstances, perhaps slipping into circulation through an overlooked batch or being intentionally pocketed and later rediscovered. And these possibilities add layers of mystique that drive valuations far beyond traditional catalog numbers, because a coin like our hypothetical 2005 P-dime is not merely a piece of metal but a symbol of what is possible in the unpredictable world of minting. A reminder that even modern coins with massive mintages can produce anomalies so rare that they seem more like accidents of fate than mechanical misfires. And collectors love to imagine coins like this existing because they elevate the hobby from simple change sorting to a treasure hunt where the reward could change a person's life. And as we continue unraveling the story of how a dime might reach a value of $84 million, we must consider the role of condition, because in numismatics, condition can transform a rare error into an earth-shattering one. And if this coin were found in pristine, untouched, mint-state condition with an extraordinarily high grade assigned by a major grading service, the value could skyrocket even further, since a high-grade error coin is far more desirable than one damaged in circulation. But to reach such a staggering valuation, the coin must also be unique in every sense, displaying a perfect storm of anomalies and preserved so well that experts could marvel at every microscopic detail. And the presence of die cracks, shattered die patterns, or retained cuds would only increase the intrigue, as these features indicate that the striking equipment was failing at the exact moment the coin was struck, adding yet another layer of rarity and making the dime not just a mint error but a snapshot of a dramatic moment in minting history, where the machinery itself was breaking down and the coin captured the chaos of that moment. And when we imagine collectors learning about this error combination, we see bidding wars erupting, private collectors competing with museums, investors driving the price into uncharted territory, and whispers spreading across numismatic circles until the coin becomes legendary, a once-in-a-lifetime discovery that transcends the hobby and becomes a cultural phenomenon, similar to how famous rare coins like the 1933 Double Eagle became subjects of documentaries, legal battles, and international headlines. And the 2005 P-dime in our scenario could follow a similar trajectory, especially if rumors circulated about its origin, ownership history, and the circumstances of its discovery. Because stories of coins found in old piggy banks, inherited from grandparents, or pulled from everyday pocket change add a human touch that makes the coin even more compelling. And when you consider all these overlapping factors, extreme doubling, incorrect planchet, mule pairing, multi-strike anomalies, rotation errors, shattered die features, impeccable grade quality, and a captivating backstory, it becomes clear how collectors might begin discussing valuations in the tens of millions, even if such numbers sound outrageous to outsiders, because in the world of rare coin collecting, value is not just about metal or face value but about rarity, mythology, historical significance, and the unrepeatable nature of a truly unique mint error. And the 2005 P-dime at $84 million represents a thought experiment in how far these factors can push a coin's perceived value, illustrating the passion, imagination, and excitement that drive the hobby forward. And as we explore every possibility surrounding this extraordinary piece, our excitement grows, because even though most people will never encounter such a coin,